call this meeting to order. Thank you for being here. We do have a number of folks here for both public comment. We have two different opportunities for public comment this evening. So I will request that the first folks for general public comment come up. I have two names, Calvin Curvin and Taylor Stewart. If anyone else is here for just general public comment, if you'll sit up on the front row then and introduce yourself. And everybody, each person will have 3 minutes for public comment, and there's a light there.
First off, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Calvin Curvin. I live at 3249 Anderson Drive here in Raleigh. The city recently completed its first phase of the public outreach for the Big Branch Greenway Connector project. This project is now moving into existing conditions analysis and systematic design phase to determine the alignment recommendations for each of the proposed segments of this particular project. Currently, 3 of the 4 alternate pathways being considered run through the private property and backyards of homes along Big Branch Creek in the Anderson Forest neighborhood. Depending on the selective proposed routes, 5 to 9 homes will be severely impacted by the Greenway routes running as close to 40 feet from their homes, which is roughly here to that wall. We have just gone through sewer pipe replacement, and there have been reports of ongoing efforts to push through construction of a greenway. We understand greenways are often built in floodways, but we contend that this particular location should be reconsidered. Big Branch Creek is a major tributary to Crabtree Creek. When Crabtree Creek floods, it causes Big Branch to flood. Because Big Branch is a deep-walled, narrow, and is below the surrounding topography in our area, as well as the increased stormwater runoff due to the commercial construction upstream, the speed of stormwater runoff is substantial and unlike any other tributary feeding into Crabtree Creek. While the destruction of lawns, plants, and trees from the sewer project, which did help slow down the runoff and stop flooding and erosion, our area has sustained 4 flooding events since January from stormwater runoff when Crabtree Creek did not flood. A greenway will only add impervious surface, further accelerating stormwater runoff and flooding. Since the removal of the vegetation, erosion has drastically increased along Big Branch, causing trees to collapse into the creek, creating further destabilization of the bank and loss of homeowner property. I would estimate that I have lost over 3 to 4 feet of property since the sewer project started. It is doubtful that even there's enough land available for an established greenway in some of that area now. Additional flooding, it causes the sewer pipe eruption and sewer pollution of Big Branch and the surrounding property through the multiple manhole covers along the Big Branch Creek. Increased flooding will cause the city greater expense in debris removal, repairs, and replacement of the greenway surface, bridges, and boardwalks. And finally, there are existing options available.
You can finish your sentence.
I'm sorry.
You can finish your sentence.
Okay, there are existing options available that would be better suited for connecting the bike and pedestrian traffic to shopping and business locations to connect to the Raleigh Connection Plan, Connect Raleigh Plan, excuse me, that are less intrusive, less controversial, less expensive, and less of an environmental impact, such as Wake Town to Industrial Drive. We would like to invite anybody of the committee to come out and view this properties and see for yourself what we're talking about. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Taylor Stewart.
Thank you, Board. Yes, I'm Taylor Stewart. I reside at 3265 Anderson Drive. So I'm one of the 9 homes, and just a little different angle from my perspective in view of what would be just greatly increased foot traffic As it is, we have had security issues and safety issues. We've had personally, our cars have been broken into 3 to 4 times at our home. A couple years ago, we had a drug-induced gentleman who came up through the back up on our deck and looking into our home, and my teenage daughter was very thrown for a loop and crying, and we're not there, and having to call 911 and all of that. So with the Greenway, which if the backyards were really all set in a big long distance, I mean, that may be one thing, but it's very short. And we would basically be, it'd be looking in a fishbowl. And so we just have some real security concerns. Again, the cars, those that have come up in our yard, even up on our deck. Just as of 3 weeks ago, 3 doors down, there was a break-in on one of our neighbors, and so sidewalks were installed several years ago. We understand that's going to increase foot traffic, but with the Greenway, we know that's going to be a completely different entity. We've all been homeowners there for decades and would love to remain there, would love to receive our grandchildren when they come there, but it's a bit of a game changer for us, even to the point of would we have to move and relocate. But beyond aesthetic issues, it's just the sense of the very narrow passage in our backyards and being able to look right into our back windows there. And so I just want to put that out there as well, the safety and security. And again, if someone could do a walkthrough, you'd see just how narrow. In some particular homes, it really bottlenecks very narrowly. So anyway, thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration. Something like this, of course, would not be an issue until it's our home. And this go around, it is our home and our neighborhood. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And that process is ongoing, and we'll have more community engagement as it goes forward. Next is our new Raleigh Youth Council president and vice president.
Good evening. My name is Finch Chaldone, and I'm the chair of the Raleigh Youth Council. Over the summer, the executive board met to plan out the structure and events and details for the 2024-2025 RYC year. At our last meeting, we focused on leadership. We split into groups and were tasked with coming up with new events for RYC. Each group was given a category, then had to plan an event and pitch the event idea and all its details to the whole council. This was an opportunity for us to give members other than the exec board the opportunity to lead, and it helped us identify some of our strong new leaders in RYC. The meeting was a success, and we will hopefully be able to implement some of the new presented ideas and events in the future. Past community service. On Saturday, September 14th, we participated in the Big Sweep Park cleanup at Lake Johnson Park. We had 13 of our members in attendance, and we had a great time bonding over service.
Good afternoon. My name is Miles Frazier, and I'm the vice chair of the Raleigh Youth Council. As far as our upcoming meetings go, our next couple of meetings will be about colleges. We'll have a presentation from the College Advising Corps at our meeting on Monday, and a panel of RYC alumni and current college students for the next meeting. These meetings will lead us into the North Carolina Free College Application Week. For our upcoming community service on October 19th at J.C. Park from 7 to 9 p.m. We will host our annual specialized recreation Halloween dance for teens and adults with special needs. This is also a great opportunity for teens outside of RYC to get service hours. So if any of you know high schoolers that would like to volunteer, please send them our way. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you all. Wait, can you stay at the podium for just another minute? we might have some questions for you.
Of course, yeah.
And thank you for your participation in the big sweep at Lake Johnson. That is a very heavily used park, and so we very much appreciate you being there and doing that and having 14 folks out there to do that. I'm sure that was lots of fun. Any questions from board members for these guys? At a future meeting, could you share with us all the different high schools that are represented? You don't have to do it right now, but if you'd share that with us, I think that would be interesting information for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great evening. Wait.
When's the dance?
The dance is on October 19th from 7 to 9 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
And then the college alumni panel, when is that? And how do people attend?
That meeting will be, it should be 3 weeks from now because we have our first meeting next week, and then that is the meeting after that. We can come to Kiwanis Park, that's where we'll be meeting, so anybody can come there to come see it.
Thank you.
7 to 8.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you for providing leadership for the Raleigh Youth Council. I think it's a really cool endeavor.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Next, we move to a more somber presentation on the request for naming the Crabtree West Greenway Suspension Bridge. And is Lisa Schiffbauer from the projects engineer and the Greenway division, and Eric Lamb, who is formerly head of transportation for the city of Raleigh, are going to make a presentation, I think.
Yes, good evening. Lisa Schiffbauer with Raleigh Parks, Senior Engineering Supervisor. We just recently dedicated the Crabtree Creek West segment of the Crabtree Creek Trail. Last week, we did a formal grand opening, and then we had the Friends of the Raleigh Greenway System. So hopefully you got to get out and explore and see portions of the trail, including the suspension bridge, which is on the agenda tonight for the naming. And we have Eric Lamb here that will do a short presentation. I won't steal his thunder, so I'll bring him down.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members. Thank you very much for having me here this evening and for allowing me to make the presentation. Old habits die hard, so I'll lapse back into my city staffer mode for a second, and just to remind the board of the rules related to naming proposals. The City Council established a process for naming parks and facilities in 2001, and it's designed to recognize individuals that have made exceptional contributions to the city, and it requires that an application for this be accompanied by a petition of at least 100 city residents. And so we're here asking to honor the memory of our friend, Todd Delk. Todd was a city employee that worked with me for several years, and in his short time with the city made just his energy and enthusiasm facilitated the ability for us to implement a number of transportation projects throughout the city. He was a huge fan of bicycle and pedestrian transportation, put his money where his mouth was, and was really instrumental in us moving the ball forward on a number of initiatives, especially in downtown Raleigh. But Todd did more than just that. Todd was one of the organizers behind SparkCon. For the longtime residents, Todd was an OG bobblehead. He was, we like to call him an instigator behind Kirby Derby and the events that took place there. He was also very active with the Raleigh Visual Arts Exchange. I knew him a lot through his work through transportation statewide. Todd and I both served with the North Carolina section of the Institute of Transportation Engineers. Todd also did a lot of volunteer work associated with the Appalachian Trail. He worked with a crew that went out and did trail construction and reconstruction every summer. He would beg me to go along with him, but I didn't have that moxie, but worked on sections within Virginia, North Carolina, and even Georgia. So why are we bringing this up specific to the suspension bridge? So after Todd left the city of Raleigh, Todd worked for the consulting team that was working on this specific project for Crabtree West. And it was Todd's idea to solve an engineering problem with how to traverse the trail through this section with coming up with the idea for a suspension bridge. So in his work as a consultant, he led the studies and walked through, and ultimately that was the vision that prevailed for the project. And so we think that it represents an appropriate monument to his character and his contributions. And so we are asking formally to move forward with the naming of the bridge as the Todd B. Delk Memorial Bridge. We believe we've met the criteria of the resolution. In putting together the petition, we actually got almost 200 signatures from Raleigh residents. Very pleased to announce that one of those signatures was Mayor McFarland. I've also received support for this proposal from Mayor Baldwin and also from Sig Hutchinson, former county commissioner and well-known Greenway fanboy. And so at this point, we would ask that the board would move this forward into public comment. We're not aware of any opposition to the proposal. We have Todd's brother and his sister-in-law here and other friends, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have for us.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether there are any questions. I will say that the Oaks and Spokes, he was also a very active volunteer with that organization, and they had the naming petition at their table at the Friends of Greenway. So I'm sure that the number of signatures is well over 200.
So after we met the criteria for getting city residents, we then opened that up to anybody that wanted to sign. We're close to 700 now at this point. So there's definitely a lot of love for Todd in the community. And if we could bottle that energy that he had, we'd all be very wealthy. But yeah.
Very good. So I guess at this point I'll invite if there's any further public comment, then if anyone would like to share anything, and then we'll have an opportunity for any questions and then vote on it at this table. So if there's nobody else who wants to speak, but I do know there are people here in support of this action. Any questions at the board table? So it's a beautiful bridge, and it really it does solve a critical engineering challenge there, and that was really, Lisa has shared with me that they were really hammering their heads over how to stay out of the floodplain and put that across. So that's very much appreciated. So with that, I'll call a vote on the naming of the Crabtree Creek West Suspension Bridge, the Todd Delk Memorial Bridge.
You won't vote on it yet, but we will post there is a proposal.
Oh, that's right.
Yep,
Okay,
and
we
then
will
we'll bring it
vote
back.
on it at a future meeting.
That's correct.
Okay.
In November.
In November.
Yep.
Okay, because it has to stay open, and then it goes to the
Raleigh City
Council in December
December 3rd,
after we
yep.
vote. Okay, very good. Thank you for clarifying my understanding of the process. So thanks to all who are here, and thanks to you for reaching out and choosing this way to recognize somebody who made a lot of contribution in our community.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So, all right. Next project to a presentation is the Biltmore Hills tennis expansion. And I know several of you all have been out to see what is proposed on the ground, and we'll get schematic designs here.
Needed to get to the full bottom right. This guy? This guy? No. Sorry.
Expand it.
Close Okay. Oh, thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, board members. My name is Terry Naranjo, project manager with Raleigh Parks, and I'm here to present the schematic design for Biltmore Hills. This is a collaborative effort with Raleigh Parks, Engineering Services, Raleigh Arts, and Stormwater, and with our consultant, McAdams, who's here tonight. This is the overview of the agenda. We're going to do a project overview, touch on the schematic design, the community engagement, schematic design review, and go over next steps. Okay, so this is just a look at the park itself. You see Biltmore Hills in the center. We're about 1.5 miles south of downtown Raleigh, 39 acres, and then you see the amenities that are included at the site, including tennis and baseball, which are the impact of this project. So the project scope involves the expansion of the tennis complex into 8 new courts, bringing the total up to 16 total courts. And this addition will allow this site to accommodate tournament use and tournament play, something that's not currently possible, and it is anticipated to be the home court for the Shaw University tennis program. Some other improvements include sidewalks and improved accessibility, reconfigured parking, stormwater, and lighting. You see our budget, we have a $6.75 million for construction. We have an additional $140K for contributed by Raleigh Arts, and then stormwater has contributed $100,000. Our consultant McAdams kicked off in February of this year, have done a great job for us. And then the community engagement, which I'll touch on again a little bit in the next couple of slides, began actually in June of '23 and then went into the summer of this year. So our overview of the project, the community engagement, you see we began in '23. We engaged with a range of stakeholders, including both baseball and tennis stakeholders. And then in the spring of this year, when we were able to engage with our consultant, we were able to expand our outreach with online surveys, outreach into the neighborhood itself, focus groups, and public open houses. So it's pretty robust. Just an excerpt from the online survey where we were able to get feedback on current and future programming for the tennis and baseball facilities, and saw a pretty balanced approach or pretty balanced interest in both the tennis and the baseball. So with that, I'm going to go into the schematic plan. So this is an overall plan of the scope for the bond project. I have 2 enlargements that will cover the next phases or cover this in more detail. You can see it a little bit better. But in general, the serpentine or the crescent-shaped shape on the left is the parking lot in the location of the existing parking lot. We have 85 spaces up from, we have 68 spaces up from 53. You see the existing courts. You see 2 groups of 2 at the top, and then 1 grouping of 4. Those are the existing courts, and then the boldly colored courts, grouping of 5 and 3, are the new courts. So those are the new courts that we're adding on the existing ball field. The diagonal line you see go through there is the vehicular access. Currently, it is a dead-end condition, and what we'll be able to do now is be able to have a roundabout, so it'll improve the circulation and for both vehicular travel and pedestrians. So looking closer at the northern section, you see again the parking lot on the left, the crescent-shaped. We have some green stormwater infrastructure improvements that are being made. This particular portion of the site where it's the existing courts is really focusing on the pedestrian improvements that are being made, so greater accessibility to the existing picnic shelter. You're seeing a more improved access and circulation to the existing group of 4, climbing some steps there. And then at the bottom of this image is a switchback ramp condition that will be carefully integrated into the topography to allow accessibility to that grouping of 4 that's in the middle there, something that currently does not exist. And that feature actually allowed us to retain a grouping, a grove of existing trees, trying to really preserve the character of the site. One thing I will note about this image, since we have it up, is that the existing courts, while they're not in the actual scope of the bond project, they will actually be slated to be resurfaced in conjunction and timed with the end of the construction of the new courts. So we go into the southern part of the bond project site. You see front and center the 8 new courts. There's a grouping of 5 and a grouping of 3. In the middle of that, is a pedestrian circulator that gets you to access those courts. To the left of that is the roundabout I mentioned earlier with some green stormwater infrastructure in the middle. And then you're seeing some accessibility, accessible spaces. That roundabout actually serves not just the courts themselves, but it also provides a nice drop-off condition for the existing picnic shelter and to the baseball field and things that are further south of this project. To the left of the group of 5, you're seeing something called a player's patio. So that's a flexible space that we can program to have registrations, we can have pop-up vendors and that sort of thing. And it has a nice overlook of the tennis court, the group of 4 down below. There's actually 18 foot of grade difference there. Running diagonally adjacent to the grouping of 5 is a continuation of an existing greenway that currently wraps around the right side of the ball fields if you've been out there. So we're relocating that and bringing it more central into the pedestrian circulation. That feature also allows for nice vantage points to the new courts and also to the existing courts down below. And then at the top of this image, you will see the serpentine path and the accessible ramp structure that gets you to those middle grouping of 4 courts. And so next, I'm going to take you to your attention to the existing baseball field, which is down at the bottom of this image. So very important element to the improvements made at Biltmore Hills is accommodating the needs of baseball. This is not part of the bond project, but it is tied in from a schedule standpoint. So these new improvements are really meant to elevate and enhance the baseball experience at Biltmore. And so those include a new batting cage, a lighted scoreboard, movable fencing, similar to what is used at Walnut Creek Complex, and that's an image actually from Walnut Creek. And so this allows for different configurations to occur on the large ball field for things like Little League and softball uses. And coordination of these elements is actually in progress currently. The goal is to have these completed before even beginning the construction of the new ball field or the new courts on the ball field. So recognizing the importance of baseball in Southeast Raleigh, in addition to the improvements made to the existing baseball at Biltmore Hills, I just wanted to point out that 1 mile or a 5-minute drive from Biltmore Hills is Sanderford Road Park, which also has 2 existing ball fields. So in recognizing that importance, through the management of parks and athletics, we feel that the needs of baseball can be met in this community.
So can I ask you a question there? Sure. So on the Biltmore Hills, back. There's a white path that's kind of looks like a cat sitting there or something that goes down.
Yeah.
Is that the Greenway that's referenced in the other?
Yes.
Okay, so it's an
internal
loop
right.
configuration. Okay.
That's right.
I looked on my map and didn't see.
Yeah, it's a really nice feature that takes you through a nice wooded setting.
So it's really a trail, a park trail configuration
it's
as much
a multi-purpose trail, so it's a paved as well.
And related, because during our earlier conversation, we were talking about connectivity, and I know we have a project going from Southeast Raleigh High School over to Sanderford Road Park, but it would be, you point out the proximity of these 2 parks. It would be lovely if we started, I mean, obviously a greenway is not going to go there between those 2, but if we started looking at sidewalk configurations to connect those parks because that neighborhood connection thing is key. Thank you for providing a map that wasn't directly related to what you're presenting, and I apologize, but I think it's helpful to
just
understand.
A couple more slides talking about the design development happening in the fall of this year into the spring of next, construction documents and permitting in 25, bidding and contracts late 25 into the spring of 26, and construction in 26 and finalizing in the summer of 27. And I'll note that when completed in 2027, these will be the first tennis courts to be built in the city of Raleigh in 30 years. And so we're excited to bring this new amenity and investment into Southeast Raleigh. And with that, I will take questions. Yes, sir.
Ian?
Could you go back to the map of the tennis, zoom in on the tennis courts, the new ones? So as a former tennis player, the number one tennis match is usually the one that people watch, and nobody else is watching the other matches. You could have one court that has sidewalks or viewing areas on both of the long sides.
On both of the long
People don't
sides.
watch from the end; they watch from the side. That would also be useful for your tournaments, because eventually they'll collapse down to one game.
Right. And that is the anticipation, is that as the tournaments evolve throughout the day, that there would be a feature court. So we're through the design development phase, we'll address that, but that's a good comment. Thank you.
Other questions, Rashawn?
Yes, sir. As a Raleigh native, grew up in this area, Southeast Raleigh to be exact. Know this park for a very long time. Been familiar with it. One particular thing that I always had a matter with was the parking spaces and the condensity of getting into the park from both entrances. Is there some potential aspects of expanding entryway from coming in from from the more so the side where the existing tennis courts are? Because the plan that you right here specified, like it's parking on the side where you're driving in, will that be impacting people driving in and out? Because like right now, if you drive down the hill and the existing tennis courts on your right-hand side, that entryway is kind of narrow with those speed bumps. But adding parking on that side where the speed bumps at, that can kind of decline that entryway path to get into the facility. So.
It's a good comment. It's something that we are very much considering and have focused on. So we have improved the efficiency of that lot, and so we're getting more spaces. We're definitely aware of the parking concerns and parking issues, and feel like through programming and just management of what's happening at the site holistically, from the tennis courts and the baseball, that we can work to manage internally the parking situation. But it's a good comment. Thank you.
Okay, and then one more question with the ball field on the side that's closer to the basketball court. Is there any development pathage for that trail that's in front of the basketball court? That makes sense. You know, the trail that goes through the trees. Like right now, there's no pathway to come through between the baseball field and the basketball courts that's outside. Is there any potential aspects of developing like a pathway in between those two amenities, or no?
It's something we can look at, but it's not been part of this discussion. I have heard some discussions happening internally with Ken and his group about that being a need and a desire.
Okay, sweet. Thank you. That's all the questions I have for now.
It's been recognized.
Other questions? Yeah.
I want to go back to one of the questions that was asked. You talked about the parking spaces, but I believe you were referring to the entrance and the exit widening. You spoke on you guys, taking
Sure.
care of the parking spots, but the entrance and the exit widening.
So we're really not addressing the existing entrance. If you see up, and I don't know if you can see my mouse up here, but that section of the existing roadway will not be impacted by the construction, and it's pretty wide. It's ample for two lanes of two ways of construction, two ways of vehicular access. And so this drive that you see coming through next to this parking is basically the width of a roadway. So it's ample enough for two-way traffic to accommodate vehicular use. Whether or not we incorporate the speed bumps and that sort of thing is something that can be considered for traffic calming and that sort of thing. But we do feel like that the parking and the circulation can coexist.
Bob?
When we were at Biltmore last weekend, there was an event at one of the covered shelters, and cars had parked along where you show existing sidewalk coming down to the future circle. And they had parked on both sides of the street going up there, and they found out that the remaining area of the street was not wide enough for an automobile. And they were having to go out and move their cars away because the pavement is not as wide as 3 cars. So my thought would be that you'll have to make it no parking on the sides or widen the street, because they were sorting car keys to see who could let who out. And the street currently now is not wide enough.
Correct. Yeah. So the existing condition there is a one-way dead-end condition, and it causes all kinds of problems. So this expansion does widen that section for better accessibility. We're adding the parking, but we'll look at ways to see if we can address maybe some parallel parking in there. The challenge is the slopes and the gradient. So that's
Maybe parking on one side or something, but certainly not both sides.
So Bob, what you have now, existing conditions, sorry, I'm Ken Hissel, we just met upstairs. When I come back into the county, I can only
Just
reintroduce
met.
myself. So just to help what Bob's referring to for what you guys aren't familiar with, currently right now there is a road that has parallel parking on one side and it's wide enough on the other side for one car. And then it technically dead ends because it goes into the path that you were referring to, Beverly, that walks you up through the woods. I'm going to just be honest with you, right now the gate's broken, which means you look like you can drive through, which is where you get to the point that it's no longer wide enough, Bob. There's a bollard on the other side which takes you over to the pool parking lot, which is where you're talking about, Rayshawn, to be able to work through there. What we're actually going to do is, because we're coming in, we're going to widen that road that you're seeing coming up to the roundabout, so there will be room enough for parallel parking on the one side. There will also be room enough for vehicular traffic to come down. We will have to be very intentional about signage, of making sure people understand you cannot park on both sides. The good part of it is that kind of player patio that they were talking about. That's going to really provide a visual cue that this is not a kind of loitering area for vehicles. It's more for programmatic use. And if I may, I'm going to help Terry with one more. Rashawn, your question down when you're coming in from Fitzgerald, we can't do anything about the neighborhood coming in from Fitzgerald. It's not our road. But what we are seeing, you're used to it now with that kind of strip medium. You come in, you go over the speed bumps and the strips to your left. Sorry, he knows what he's talking about, so I'm going to be really kind of specific. As you can see, that's coming out.
Okay.
And we're creating a new green stormwater infrastructure device there.
Okay.
And parking. So that's all going to be reconfigured, because as you look, the mouth of that opens up once you come into the park.
Okay. I see.
Is it going to be like perfect for 25-mile-an-hour two-way traffic? No, we're going to tell people you will use some traffic calming because you're going to have parking coming in and out. So still have to be really sensitive. But I can tell you, as you leave the neighborhood, drive into the park, it will start to open up that funnel a little bit.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yep. Is there, you guys going to keep the speed bumps or improve them or just dust them away?
I
said dust
can
them,
tell
sorry.
you that's way down in design, but the ones that
Okay.
right now are lacking. So we will
Yeah,
probably do something from a traffic calming perspective to make sure people aren't, because the part of it's going to be very, very active with people. So we want people to slow down regardless.
Right. Yeah, but the roundabout's going to be great. I think that's a great opportunity because when you come up that hill, it's like a dead end. And it cramped my nerves you got to park on the side, do that 4 or 5 turn
If
around.
Steve will let me do a funny real quick, because we actually took the budget office on a tour Monday in the middle of Tropical Storm Helene? And our driver was driving the minivan, or the minibus, and she's like, can I go all the way through? And I went, surely the bollard's not down on the other side. Or the bollard's not up. And what do you think happened? Bollard was up on the other side. So in the middle of the rain, Jennifer's doing a 3-point turn in our minibus to get it back out. So
Yeah.
we learned firsthand that's not wide enough. But we did really good and didn't leave any ruts. But it addresses, that's why, Charles, we fixed it. That's why that roundabout is super important to be able to flow through there.
And you mentioned the portable, movable pitcher's mound. If anybody wants to see that, I have photos of it.
Well, and I had another question. Speaking of rain, you guys mentioned the GSI infrastructure that's been put in here. Was that calculated to kind of neutralize the effect of 8 courts being put on what's currently permeable?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, we're going above and beyond actually what the minimum requirement is on this, and so yes, that is the goal because we understand that is a very important issue in this community.
The other is we're installing some now, but in advance.
That's right.
And this also flows to Walnut Creek. So working with Partners for Environmental Justice, they said, wait, you're putting in impervious surface. We partnered with them and got funding from Stormwater to proactively begin to mitigate the court. So we're going well above and beyond. Yep.
What's the form of the GSI? That's not going to be a retention pond, is it? Or is it?
This is considered green stormwater infrastructure. They will hold water for a brief period of time and then be able to release it. So we're managing stormwater quality and quantity here. So they're going to function pretty much like just grassy swales with some planting in them, with the goal of not holding water for very long, just releasing
So
it.
it's not going to be a pond because
No,
it's
not a pond,
It's
yes.
That was one of my questions. Was it's depicted more like a stormwater pond, but you're thinking about something more like on Glenwood Avenue at St. Mary's, where it is more of a rain garden kind of
Yes.
phenomena. Yeah, that will be. I mean, and assuming that that's what you do, then you get a huge opportunity to put in pollinator plants and kinds of plantings that are educational for children and others.
Have it be a teachable.
And will be maintained by our new GSI maintenance crew that we got in the budget this year. So
That is awesome.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and
No,
stop
no.
asking
That's
questions.
good.
And you probably already brought it up, but with the existing tennis courts with the stairways going up to it, is there a potential or proposed more
Right.
narrow? I can't,
So the
better route to get to this, because that incline on everything.
this stairwell on this side is all new, so that'll be a more permanent concrete stairwell condition. As we get further along into design development, we will look at ways to expand beyond that to cover some of the existing infrastructure it's in there. But at this point, it's not currently included. But it may be something that we can advance.
Yeah, because
knowing
like
that
right
that is
now
a
you gotta
concern.
like weave up those steps to get to them. Yeah, and that's intense for a tennis player. So
There's some rather spectacular staircases built out of wood there now.
That's true.
This may be a,
And I do want to clarify something that I know I heard you say, but this work will take away the baseball field, one of the baseball fields, which we've heard about before. But you are planning to do the movable fence and the movable pitcher's mound and all of that as of spring of 2025, correct?
The exact time frame is Alex can speak on the time frame.
So what we're doing right now is we're purchasing the portable netting, the scoreboard, batting cage. We're all in the process right now of procuring for installation. The one thing I want to make sure, this is why I came up, lighting is in this year's capital improvement budget, but I don't want to commit to when that's being installed. So the goal by the time we start construction, that field is fully functional for both younger and older age groups.
Great. And then I have to ask one question about the tennis courts. Not that I don't play pickleball, but God knows 90% of Raleigh does. And so what will the use for pickleball be at this location?
So Beverly, we will not have pickleball at Biltmore Hills, and here's why. So just so everybody knows this. The USTA and pickleball do not play nice together. So you cannot do USTA sanctioned matches on courts that have pickleball lines. So now that doesn't mean that players still won't go up and take their paddles and do things, and I'm not going to run them off, but the part of that is understanding from an official pickleball court, we can't have the blended lines, and that's the feature of having 16 courts is to do matches in tournament that are USTA qualified.
Good. I knew it'd come up otherwise, so might as well ask up front. All right, any other questions from board members?
Go ahead.
Xiangwen.
Okay. So one question about the future use of the tennis court. So you mentioned the tennis court will also accommodate some of the use from the Shaw University. So how that will look like, the usage compared to the public use?
The uses, well, so when it gets into programming and that sort of stuff, it's really Ken's.
Shane, when actually working with colleges is actually really good. So colleges like to play right after school. So we've found with the relationship, they're currently playing at Worthdale, and what we want to do is bring them back over to Biltmore to play. So it's actually kind of a complementary use. And having 8, they're only going to use a 6-court bank. The benefit here is I'll still have the 12 other the 10 other courts for the public to use when they're on there for their league matches.
And people can check which one is available.
Yeah, so that's one of the really cool things. Raleigh, I think you guys have met David Bell. If not, you're going to meet him at some point. He's our tennis director. We have an online reservation system where people can actually go where C access is. And then our community center becomes a really important partner in that as well to communicate out. Yep.
And Ian, did you have a question?
This might actually be a Steven question. Do we have a standard for synthetic or grass baseball fields in Raleigh? Maybe a
What
Ken
do you
question.
mean by a standard?
Like, for this field being built, will it be grass or will it be in synthetic?
The field already exists and it's natural turf.
Okay, and that will continue?
Yeah, I'll leave my synthetic turf.
We,
comment
we
out
do
for
not
Steve.
have any synthetic turf in the system yet.
But it might. Okay, thank you.
And obviously, this picture was taken in the wintertime.
I just want to say this is going to be a very impactful project for Southeast Raleigh, more particular for the current residences there and for that being the history of an African American community. Just seeing this community center just grow with all these new amenities is going to be very, very, very helpful for the old residents and then the new residents here due to gentrification. So I'm very satisfied. So.
Very good. April?
Hello. Well, I worked at Biltmore. It was my first job, and my child was there till 6 o'clock. So we spent a lot of time up those hills, round those bends, all that good stuff. But my question is about handicap accessibility. So what are some of the plans for? So where are you on the handicap accessibility for people to attend those matches?
So that is a priority for us on this site. So we're making some improvements that currently do not exist. And so accessibility to all the courts will actually be possible as a part of this project. And actually to some amenities that don't currently have accessibility, such as the picnic shelter at the top of this image doesn't have accessibility, so we're providing that. But it is a priority and is pretty much driven almost all the decisions that we've made as it relates to pedestrian circulation.
So because the tennis courts are elevated and you have so is that a ramp? Do you have?
Yes.
Is it going to be from the side where it's narrow, where you get ready to go by the baseball field, or?
So there are 3 levels of the tennis courts. So you have the lowest level on the north side. So this segment allows accessibility to those courts. The middle group of courts is 10 feet higher than that. But to get access to that, we actually have to approach it from the top. And that's the switchback condition and the serpentine walk that you see in this location. So that is going to work. We're going to carefully integrate that into the topography. And that will provide accessibility to the middle bay of courts. And then the upper courts will have a lot of accessibility. So all the way around this entire edge here will have accessibility. So getting to these courts from an accessible standpoint is being accommodated in this plan.
So you don't have to have a lot of muscle to push somebody uphill. It's going to be, okay, nice and level, and you can go. It's like at the Museum of Art. You've got to be able to push them all the way around. So I'm just wondering, even with the accessibility of the flat access, just what does that look like for people if they're moving themselves or if they have motor? Just wanted to ask that question.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Well, thank you. And so we need to vote on this schematic design, and then it will go to council. So I do appreciate that this has been a complicated site for a park, and the pool is not impacted at all.
No, it is not.
Okay. So, did everybody got questions answered? So all in favor of the current schematic design, and obviously this comes back to us again at the next level of review. And oh, it doesn't come?
No, after schematic design, we go to design development and construction documents.
And we don't see it again?
No, no projects you see after schematic design.
We used to.
No.
No. Okay. Why does it
I
seem
can
like
say
some
this.
projects come over and over and over again?
Some do. Well, I would say the ones that were like might be contentious, or you might request like a next level of design
Okay.
because of community dialogue.
My bad. So this will go forward to council based on the schematic design presented this evening. So all in, let's see, I need a motion to approve.
Just one thing, since this is.
Mike.
Thank you. Will there be an opportunity to get a little more in the weeds on the parking, or is that, this is, the parking's over?
This is your decision
This
point.
is our decision point.
Okay. Good, I guess.
Can we approve with comments given?
I think yes. I mean, I think he's heard our primary concerns, and so I think if you want to restate a particular concern, then now is the time to do that, and then we approve it, and he can relay when it's presented to council that these were the particular concerns and how they've addressed them.
I'm not sure this restates anything particular about parking, except that we have a number of places where a one-way parking area is created so that you could have parking on both sides of the street, and it somewhat maximizes the number of spaces along a given stretch. And there's really only one space that I saw that might work, and that's, if you'll could you put the thing up again? And I apologize, I had the same notion that would be back to us that Beverly mentioned.
Is it this one or the next one?
Clarification, there's no one way in this plan.
I know.
You just said that there was one way
Well,
in this
no,
plan.
well, I apologize for that. That's the problem. If you considered the one-way option for maximizing parking, but as I said, this is getting into the weeds. I'll put my finger along the place to look, and that will be that.
Yeah. Our goal is to. Not if you have pull-in parking there. You can either have pull-in parking or parallel parking, but otherwise you'd be backing into a car parked along the side. And I'm assuming that they have analyzed and calculated which provides the most parking.
So let me help you there. To Stephen's point, he's correct. That's a two-way travel as you come into the park. And it'll be wide enough to be able to take 2 lanes of travel and the parking. The piece on parking, so I can trust you that we have tried to squeeze every possible parking spot we can out of this project. And I would love to have my consultant tell you how many times we have asked him to go look and look and look again to figure out more parking. So, and because for April, I just want to circle back, a primary function of the parking next to the new 8 courts is exactly for ADA, because it's all at one grade level. We want to make sure we have easy access for that. So if we could squeeze another parking spot with it, but Doug, on that area down there, we're going to have 2-way travel with pulling into that spot.
I'm comfortable with that. Thank you.
All right. Ian?
Yeah, I just, maybe you can help me, the new tennis court complex in Northwest Raleigh.
Sure.
I think they're setting the benchmark with a championship court, and I don't want our new courts to be lacking that, because that is important for colleges and for tournaments.
Yeah, and so we're aiming to raise to the highest standard possible on the new courts and do what we can with the existing. Yeah.
Thank you for creating that connection, because I think that is a very important issue, that when we talk about equity, we want what's good here to be what's good here and here and here across the city, and not have second-class things. So I think my only tip to you is to make that point in your presentation to council. I think that's the guidance you're getting from this board. So thank you. All right, do I have a motion to approve? A second by Rashad. Thank you, and all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you very much. It is a complicated project with elevation and conflicting users and all of that. So we appreciate the detail to which you allowed us to investigate. All right. The next schematic design project is Method Road Community Park. And there are many constraints, being that it is a historic site and an area experiencing a fair amount of redevelopment too, I noticed the other day when I went down Method. So, and pickleball. All right.
Sorry, I'm going to do the same thing and not know how to make it big.
We can't help you over here. We're totally worthless.
I don't see an hourglass.
I got them on. There you go.
Thank you, Giovanna. Hi, I'm Lauren Reed. I am a capital project manager.
You need to be closer to the mic.
Hi, I'm Lauren Reed. I'm a capital project manager with Parks, and I thank the board members for letting me present the Method Community Park Improvements schematic design. I am going to, there we go. The agenda is a project overview. We're going to do a summary of the community engagement, schematic design review, and then estimated implementation schedule, and then you can ask me all sorts of questions.
No, we never do that.
Method Community Park is 8.3 acres in, it's about 3.2 miles above northwest of the downtown core. The current amenities on the site are a community center, the Pioneers Building, which is a multi-purpose building, the multi-purpose field, basketball court, pickleball courts, baseball field, picnic shelter, and a playground. It is a historic district. It is on the National Register of Historic Places. We also have 3 Raleigh historic landmarks that are within the district. And the district contributing factors are the Barry O'Kelly School Gymnasium, which is our current community center, the St. James AME Church, which is the one piece that is not park property, the Barry O'Kelly Grave, that is actually on the AME Church property. The agricultural building, which is what we are calling the Pioneers Building now, and the agricultural field, and our basketball court is also a contributing factor. The project overview, our project scope is extensive renovation of the community center, the Pioneers Building, the site drainage and accessibility improvements throughout the site. The total budget is $14,650,000. It is part of the 2022 Parks Bond referendum, and we have an additional $250 allocated for public art. Our design consultant is Clark Nexon, and their contract was executed in April of 2024. And our community engagement actually started in March 2023 and just concluded a week or so ago with our schematic design reveal. We are in our public participation playbook doing the involve level of engagement. And just as a reminder, the involve is where we work directly with the public throughout the process to ensure that the public concerns and aspirations are consistently understood and considered in our design. Our community engagement, like I said, kicked off in 2023 with a project introduction, and then in April of 2024, we started a pretty extensive array of open houses, focus groups. We had multiple workshops with our design team that were pretty fun and well attended, and let the community play designer with us for a little while. But we got a lot of really good feedback from those, actually, and the community got to understand a lot of our constraints when we did it, so it was very beneficial. And then in just September 5th, we did our schematic design reveal to the community, and it was actually very well received. Just to walk you through pretty quickly, this is the community center, and in the lower right-hand corner of looking at the screen, you're going to see it's listed reception. That's around the front door. We are adding a front desk. There has never been one there. We are also to the left of that front desk going down what is now a hallway. We're actually creating that hallway. It doesn't exist right now. There are some rooms there. We're going to reconfigure that whole area to make a functional multi-purpose room and a wide hallway that will back up the lobby because the lobby is a little bit tight. There's going to be, currently we're planning on a built-in bench seat, and if you can tell, there is a window cut in, and that's actually an existing window. So we're going to leave that in our renovation so that people who are waiting or watching or picking up their kids from summer camp can peek in the gym and see what's going on in there. We also have relocated our director's office and other staff areas to improve their functionality. They were in not as functional spaces before, and now both the director's office and that staff space, along with a new front desk, everybody can see the front door, and so we've got improved safety in that capacity. Also, if you look at the top right-hand corner, we have reconfigured the restrooms. They're actually expanded to meet current codes and ADA accessibility compliance. We had to actually make them a fair amount bigger, so they took up some more space than they had before. We moved the weight room to the back right of the building and have an activity room that we're doing improvements on, and we've added a restroom and shower in that back area, which was requested by the community. And then in the Pioneers building, it's not particularly large, and we have large spaces, so. The multi-purpose room, we're going to do some acoustic improvements and some AV and presentation upgrades that are going to include the ability to do hybrid meetings in the room. And there will also be a podium. The community uses this room extensively for meetings and just gatherings in general, but they do a lot of meetings that would benefit from the use of a podium type setup. Our history room is going to be opened up and made more accessible and receive some upgrades to enhance that space and honor the community. And a big feature on the front is that we're going to add an accessible entry, so there'll be an accessible, a wheelchair accessible ramp. We're expanding the front stoop while still keeping the historic front door. It's a little bit of a challenge, but we'll make it work. And adding some better stairs in there. And then some other project improvements to the buildings. I know I have site pictures, but those are coming they're a little preview. But for the buildings, we're going to be doing new roofs on both buildings. They're going to, on the exterior, have extensive repointing and repair of the mortar and brick. We will be replacing all of the windows in the Pioneer building and refurbishing and replacing a lot, and then reinstalling a lot of the windows in the community center. Both buildings will get new flooring, new paint. The gym and the multipurpose room in the Pioneers building will get extensive acoustic treatments. One of the things we heard majorly from the community was that they wanted the ability to use the gym for gatherings, for dances and bands, to just have general parties. But one thing we did when examining that, we realized that the acoustics were very, very, very bad in there. It's kind of built like the inside of a drum. And it also caused a lot of problems for a lot of the children who had hearing sensitivities, and they were having a lot of problems just even playing with their friends. And some kids actually during summer camp would have to sit out of the time from the gym because of the acoustics in there. So we're going to spend a lot of attention in there. We also are going to be upgrading the exterior of the site. We're going to have security camera upgrades and lighting upgrades. We're going to put lights in the picnic shelter because they have a drum circle that meets in the evenings during the winter in that picnic shelter. And so it will enhance their ability to stay past, 5 o'clock. Our site is going to be a little harder to see, so you guys can ask me questions about it. But currently, there is basically no stormwater control on the site, and we will be installing a new stormwater system. And that is going to also receive all of the runoff from our roofs. They'll be piped to that new system, and we currently have.
Located on the map there.
Ooh, you're going to challenge my skills here.
Sorry.
Oh, no.
You
All right,
can
highlight.
verbally locate it. I just don't see
Where's a little, there we go. All right, so there is no, I'm not showing it here because it would get too cluttery, but what I will say is that our stormwater will start. We're going to pipe it from up here, and then it's going to run through the site, down this way, and over here, and then we're going to connect and be able to shoot it out to Highway 440. They have a large system that we're going to connect to.
that was going to be one of my questions was the Beltline expansion impacting stormwater on our site?
As far as I know, it is not, because we're a little up from them, but we are going to give them some of ours. So that is our stormwater. We also have a little flooding that happens around the buildings, and this being able to install stormwater and also pipe our roof drains out and away from the buildings will hopefully solve those problems and make the site much more usable after rain events, because right now it gets very soggy and puddly. And unfortunately, the Pioneer building, I will actually go back. If you see that upper right door, that door floods. That's the back door to the Pioneer building multipurpose room. And so we are hoping to be able to keep that from happening.
Lauren, was there any thought towards green capping any of the buildings to reduce the storm runoff from them? Like putting green infrastructure on top of them in some way?
These buildings are Raleigh historic landmarks, and we are not allowed to change the exterior of them. So we have, as Beverly mentioned, we have a lot of constraints when it comes to the project, and some of that is driven by not just the size and location of things, but because they're historic properties. So unfortunately, we weren't able to do that, but I am a big fan of green roofs personally. So We are enhancing connectivity. If you can see my cursor, we are adding sidewalks to connect to the existing sidewalk so you can reach interior. Currently these sidewalks do not exist, so we're adding here. And there's a bus stop right down in this lower right-hand side, and so we're connecting a sidewalk in here. We are also making a brand new sidewalk all the way down here to this lower parking, making it finally accessible to people using the park. And then if you look at our little focused area, we have new gathering spaces kind of in between the community center and the Pioneers building. One is we're going to expand off of our existing picnic shelter. They have a very nice picnic shelter out there, and we're going to expand the patio off of that some, and then create a new small patio plaza area in between, and a better connectivity between the buildings, the sidewalks. If you can see here on the lower right, the sidewalks are not very accessible and they're not very wide. So we're going to be fixing all of that. Let's see. Oh, let's not forget the front of the building. The entrance to the community center is right here. And currently it kind of slopes down and creates kind of a bowl situation. So we are going to redo that area to keep it from becoming a big pond when it rains, and make it a nice, easy access. And then we're going to connect that to a better, more safe walkway to the playground area that's existing right now. Right now, there's a little speed bump there, but we still, I think we're considering different tabletop or markings. It's still working through that, but we're going to enhance the safety of that crossing area. We are also adding two EV charging stations and the infrastructure for an additional set of them down the road. We have, as I mentioned, $250,000 art budget. We have two artists. Dare is going to be working on the exterior installations, and then Kulsum Tabsneef has already been working with the community on oral histories and video documentations. I'm very excited about seeing those, well, for everybody else to see them, because I've seen clips and they're wonderful. And she'll be working associated with our history room as well. And then our estimated schedule is design development this fall, working through, we're planning on starting construction early in 2026 and running for about 1.5 years through the summer of 2027, finishing up then. And questions? Yes.
Rashawn.
Somebody has to ask the questions.
This touched home for me. I worked at this facility for about 5.5 years, so I know like the back of my hand. I probably have a lot of questions, but I'm gonna cut them short. First off, this is a great schematic design. I'm super happy. The first question I have is, when you enter if it was the existing facility of Method Road, when you're coming in where the bathrooms at, you know that hallway is very narrow. Is there a potential expansion for the hallway for the restrooms, and then the previous director's office that was in the back, is that the extension of the restrooms?
So the restrooms are actually kind of, in the way you're thinking about it, they're being expanded. They had to get bigger for current code, so we kind of slid them back.
Okay.
And they take up a little more room. The hallway is going to have to stay. There's only so much wiggle room, so the hallway will stay pretty narrow. But we're going to try and we're going to try and widen it up as best we can. We do have it a little wider at this front spot. If you can see right in here, it's a little wider, and then it's still a little narrow right there, but we do have some some better room to move there. We definitely, one of the big mandates for this entire project was to enhance the ADA compliance and accessibility throughout the project. So that's not just outside, that's also on the inside.
Okay. And then with the gymnasium, I know when I was there, the windows, the flooring, the walls,
Yes.
the garage door, everything was just
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me.
Right.
We are filling in that garage door.
sweet. Okay.
Thank you. It was in my notes and I just kept talking. We are filling in the coil door that was installed later at some point in time. I think it was a book repository when that was put in at some point. We're going to fill that in because it's not necessary. And then the windows in there are actually, because it's a historic property, we can't just
Tamper with
replace
it.
them. We're going to take them out, refurbish them, put new glazing in. We're going to make them non-operational because they don't need to be, because we have air conditioning in there now. And that was installed in a previous project, but currently the windows that we have in there are not helping the situation. So we're going to take those out, refurbish the existing windows, reglaze them, and then reinstall them to stay in compliance with the historic rules.
Okay. My next question is with the historic room. I cut it off. I'm sorry.
No.
In the
You're-
Pioneer
you're
Building,
channeling me.
when you first enter in, going up the steps,
Yes.
the historic room's right there. I was just thinking over here brainstorming, you specifying of opening that space up,
Sure.
but still kind of open it up. But my proposal would be to kind of keep it closed off. Something to be unique is having like a glass wall. So when people
Okay.
come in, you have glass doors so people can kind of see through it, but they don't have the capacity to go in and tamper with any of the historical information in that room.
That is actually a very good idea. We will make note of that because we have been thinking, closed off. We actually had community members who didn't even know it was there, and they come to the building on a regular basis because if the doors are closed, you didn't know it was there. So either a glass, we were thinking of just opening it up all the way, but if having a glass door would be a potential. So that's a good suggestion.
And then my last question, I got a lot more, but I cut it off. So one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't know about Method Road that's new to the area, or even if they've been in the city for a while, is the historical landmark and the history behind it. So with these two artists, my suggestion would be is making sure that their art complements Barrow Carey School and kind of is in alliance with all that history there. Because when I was there, that's one of the hardest things to specify to the people that come into the community is explaining about this history. But if the art can do the explaining more so than the staff, that'll be impactful. So
That is something that I know that they've been working on. Colsum has been working with the community. She worked on Backpacking Method, which was another project that she did previously, which involved taking artifacts from the community and creating backpacks, and that people could come and check out the backpacks and look at the artifacts, and they're all different kinds of things, and then look around the site. But both she and Dare have been in attendance at most of our public engagements, and they have been in deep contact with the community about, there's a very strong feeling about connecting it to the history, our art to the history.
okay. And then it's my last one. So for my pickleball players, one thing that
They've been emailing me, so yes.
I bet. So, behind Method Road Community Center, when it's the disconnection between the center and the pickleball courts, there's no pathway for them to come from the grassier side of the picnic table. Picnic area. I think that would be something kind of impactful for them, or just in general for any patrons or stakeholders that's going to be on the site, for them to have a pathway to get from the picnic courts to the pickleball courts to the picnic table to the entryway of the community center. Because when I was there, that was a hassle for me taking that trash around and dragging it on the grass.
So you also know that it's very tight in between that fence and the building. So if we can, we do have to do some stuff over there, and we're repointing brick and things like that. So if we can create a better path, because it's got that little hump and thing. So yeah, we'll look at seeing if we can at least smooth that out or create some sort of better, nicer way to get between those two.
Sweet, yeah. That's it. I love the schematic design. Good job. Appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And other questions that folks have related to the historic?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, there is that white and black, one of those state signs that's out on the road, I think, for the O'Berry School. But there's not, I don't recall seeing anything closer in. I've been in the history room, and I think the glass wall is a great idea there. But just, I mean, just a passerby, I think there's more we can do to let people know the history
agree.
there.
I agree.
Okay.
I just wondered whether in the interior of the buildings you're required, oh, I'm sorry. On the interior of the buildings, are there any historic requirements for?
No, we're just confined by what to do on the outside. So on the interior, we're allowed to move things around and adjust as we can. But obviously inside, we have the structural constraints of our 1950 building or our 1926 building. So we are constrained a little by that, but we can do all sorts of upgrades. We're going to do all new finishes and try and bring her into the modern era.
So one other question, you were saying something about lighting changes. What are you thinking for? I'm always concerned about night lighting.
I agree. So these will be exterior lighting. A lot of it's actually broken, and we need to replace it. And just for a safety aspect, we're not trying to put just spotlights or do light dances. We're just the picnic shelter would just be when people are using it, and that would be able to be turned off from the inside. And then the site lighting that we're upgrading would just be regular, normal levels site lighting. It wouldn't be anything excessive. Because there are houses nearby, and there are apartments across the street, and there are houses on the other side. So we're not trying to. We may have 440 on one side, but the other side has residents. So we're not trying to spotlight in anyone's eyes.
I have one more comment, and this is more so for Stephen and Ken. I think it'd be impactful to have, I guess you call him like a historian, somebody on site, or educating the staff on, be able to tell the history of that site. Because I had to give numerous tour guides when I was there as a part-time staff member. And I think just having somebody there that knows the history of it, or educating the staff and the parks director so they can give that tour and tell the history for all the patrons that's coming to that site, because it's very rich history that a lot of people don't know about, and they need to learn about it. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Well, you've given us, I mean, we've had two really detailed and excellent schematic design presentations, so thank you to both of you all tonight. And so with that, I will entertain a motion to approve the schematic design. Rashad. And a second. Ian? All right. All in favor of the schematic design as presented?
Aye.
Any opposed? All passed. Thank you very much. You'll have to relocate the programs there during construction because it's just such a constrained site.
Yeah, Powell Drive is pretty close by, so it's likely that we'll relocate staff there to still places and spaces where the Method Road community can come and celebrate and be active.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, next on our agenda, we have the Kyle Drive property proposed park renaming. Boy, we've see some things come over and over and over again, and other things are once and done. So who's presenting?
No presentation.
Those
Procedurally, you just have to vote, and it will go to council.
Okay, so we have the Cane Creek.
River Cane.
River Cane, sorry. Cane Creek is a bicycle supplier. That's right. River Cane Park. It will be the new name for Kyle Drive.
River Cane
Wetland. Thank you. Didn't I write all my notes down? All in favor of renaming Kyle Drive Park to be the River Cane Wetland Park?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, all done, and that is final, yes. Oh, and now, this is the director's report. We got another.
Yeah, you have one more,
We
but
have.
we just
I
wanted
thought
to
this
circle.
was a ballot. So do we have a ballot? Oh, no. Okay. So as chair, I have served my term, and so we have had nomination for the the incoming chair to be Chris Piera, and for the vice chair to be Jeff Havner, and so and there were no other nominations. And I guess the nominations are closed procedurally. And so, and this time they will take their new positions as the October 17th meeting. So I'll continue to this meeting. As I fumble through. So all in favor of our new chair and vice chair? Oh, okay. Moved approval and seconded by Rashawn. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? There we go, by acclamation. Or motion, whatever.
Checking out already.
Yeah,
Madam Chair.
you all just have to know, I've been taking care of 3 children under 8 for the last 5 days. So my brain is, what do you want to eat? Like yogurt and blueberry muffins. They've had a lot of that. Anyway, so we have the director's report.
Yes,
handed
thank
out
you,
to us.
Madam Chair. We are applying for 2 statewide grants. Well, actually, this past week was the Great Trail State Conference, in which we had staff participate in. If you didn't realize, the governor last year proclaimed North Carolina as the Great Trail State, and the legislature funded $10 million, quite a few dollars. So we are applying to basically double the mountain biking trails up at Forest Ridge. We have them designed. And we're going through the process because it is federal land, leased to the state, leased to the city of Raleigh. So we're jumping through some approvals, but we feel good about this. This is just an application. And we are also applying for funds to further advance Marsh Creek. It was a bond project. So when that comes up, we would have some extra money maybe to get into preliminary design, not just feasibility study. So the council approved that. Congratulations, we now have, well, the future River Cane Wetland Park Master Plan was adopted by a unanimous vote of the council. On Tuesday, Shawsheen and our partners in engineering services just gave an update to the council on the status of the work not only staff is doing, but the board is doing. One of the bullet points that really stuck out to me was since we launched this process last summer, we've done 70 opportunities for community engagement just related to our bond project. So that's a testament to you all and to staff. And it was a short presentation, about 20 minutes. The link is this was loaded online, but we just did it today. But there is link to our volunteer opportunities in this document. And then just I always say fall is like festival season for us. So the Tamale Festival will be at Moore Square this weekend, which is a really, really great event. I encourage you all to go. We wrapped up our summer with a teen pool party, which we had almost 100 teens come out. That's a lot of good number. That's a big number for us, which is exciting. Next weekend is Chavis Celebrates. Awesome series of events on the 27th and 28th. Over the course of about a 2-week period between Roberts Park, Method Road, Chavis, and Sergeant Courtney T. Johnson, we gave out over 1,200 backpacks to local families. And then we talked a lot about method. We participate literally and collaborate with the community on curating Method Days, which is a celebration of the method community, the method, excuse me, the method community and the alumni of the Barry O'Kelly School, the Church of Zion, the Method Boys to Men Club. So they find sponsors, we match some funds, and it's a really great event. We have been fortunate that we are going to receive 2 grants from the federal government, one for Walnut Creek Wetland Center in the amount of about $850,000.
Can you briefly describe what that is going to accomplish?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are at the Wetland Center, on the opposite side of the park is the Rochester Heights neighborhood. They have to walk all the way around the park, or I'm sorry, yeah, around the park to get on the trails where the center is. What we are building, and this was a partnership with the community, the Conservation Fund, and our staff, we're going to fund a trail from the school, connect the sidewalk to the school, and then a trail that gets the Rochester Heights community into the park with a small pavilion and small pieces of artwork. So great opportunity. And then the big grant we are getting is $8.7 million for Smoky Hollow. So pretty exciting opportunity. Such a big opportunity that the Secretary of the Interior, she came, and the governor came, and Congressman Nickel came and spoke at Walnut Creek Wetland, and I was hoping they'd give us a big check right there, but we'll have to wait for that. And then on October, yes.
So for that 8.7 million, does that change when, I guess when the master plan was presented to us, we saw several different configurations based on the amount of funding that was there. Is that going to change the possibilities that
it fully funds the project?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So what we focused on, if you remember with you all, it was the remediation, the greenway, and connectivity, and then like the last thing were more like amenities. So everything pretty much gets fully funded now. Yep. On October 7th, put this on your calendar, is the Medal of Arts Awards ceremony. If you have not gotten the invitation, please let us know and we can send that out. If you drive up Lake Wheeler Road and you see these 2 tall towers with big circles, they are the sunflower poles that are going
today.
in. Okay, I saw the circle, but I haven't been back to see if
I don't know. No, I don't think the
Okay.
petals are on. I got a picture this morning.
Yeah, so it's becoming a reality. And then if you all follow the news, we've had a series of unfortunate incidents on the Neuse River at Raleigh Beach, where we've had 4 people who have lost their lives in 1 year due to drownings. So we have closed that location to vehicular traffic. We are looking at technology that can actually identify how many people are down at the river and see if we can deploy something in which we can be more proactive. But this has put the city of Raleigh Police Department, Raleigh Fire, Wake County, the town of Knightdale, and our department to do a series of campaigns on social media and door hangers, multiple languages throughout the community. So just wanted to highlight that effort. And then this is the last weekend, I believe, that is Jazz in the Square. And then we have a link to your rezoning cases at the end.
Stephen, I got something. This is for all my board members. If you guys haven't had the luxury or the capacity to go to Forest Ridge Park, please do so. I've been working with Joel Bateman and his team at this site, giving them tips on applying for the Great Trail State Grant Program. And Joel and his team do everything internally. They don't ask no sisters, no questions, and they're doing a phenomenal job. And I hope they get this grant because these guys, from a maintenance side of things, from just dedication, from hard work, they put the effort in every day to keep that park up to par. So if you guys never been there, please take the time to go there and just meet Joel, Seth. They're great guys, very laid back, and they're really staff members that's really boots to the ground and putting the work in. And I just tip my hat to them guys, and that's because of Stephen. So thank you, Stephen. And they compliment you a lot. They don't want to bother you a lot to do, so they try to do everything on their own. But
They don't bother me.
Okay,
You're
sweet.
not
Okay. And the second thing, yes, very quiet.
Yeah, it's a good point, Carol. It's 600 acres. So when you go to the park and you're out near the lake, you really feel like you're removed from Raleigh.
And the mountain bike trails are beautiful. That's on the ground, that's on the site right now, and the plans that they have for expansion is just amazing. And the other comment I wanted to state around safety, the town of Zebulon, the parks director, chief of police, and fire chief, they all have a safety system going on called What Three Words. So anybody on a trail, in a park, on a playground that has a matter or issue, they have signage up, and it's 3 words: who is who you are, where you are, and how can we help. And they have a coding system where you can text this code in, and it'll go straight to the chief of police and their staff, the fire department, and the parks director. And since they've been having the What Three Words implemented within their town of Zebulon, they've been able to save so many people's lives based off of drownings, based off of in situations that happen on trails and greenways and playgrounds. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, and maybe potentially a connectivity with the town of Zebulon and the city of Raleigh. So.
That's very cool. Thank you for sharing that. And I will second Forest Ridge, because I did the kayak and birding thing there last year, and it was just fabulous. And the staff knowledge and having everything you needed was just, we had a great time doing that. So anyway, Forest Ridge, it's a long ways out there. But there's some benefits to traveling a long ways. So committee reports, Parks Committee.
I think neither of the parks chairs were able to make the meeting, but I see Ken making his way down here. So I'm going to let Ken speak since he hasn't gotten to speak tonight.
I can't hissle again, no. The Parks Committee saw the Biltmore Hills project a couple weeks ago, came through some observations, opportunities to come through. Sheng Wen actually had, like, the glass doors tonight. That was a great one. Looking for food truck opportunities, like if we think about that from a space, so how do we look at it? So really, that was our one topic for the night. What Chris and Hugh will have going forward is we're digging in, as Stephen brought up, there's projects keep coming. Noose River will be our focus for the next couple of months. So if you haven't been there, check your calendars. We'll see you the first Thursday in October.
Very good, thank you. Fred Fletcher, Volunteer Committee, and a little early for that, so.
We had a good time last time, and we're looking forward to doing the same and honoring more people. And just a nice reminder to the board and all of my colors and emails that when the people find out they're winning, it's really important that we contact them in a timely manner so we can go forward, and Mary can go forward with her team to make sure that the programs are printed and all of that good stuff. And thank you so much for all of your help.
Hey, April, I had a small question, and this might be more for Mary as well, but I know in the past we've talked about trying to honor maybe this year the recipients that received awards during COVID that didn't actually get a live ceremony. And I think last year when we brought it up, it was too late.
Okay. I will make sure I'll pass that to Mary, and I don't see why we couldn't do it since it's come up this early, and that should definitely be done.
Thanks.
Very good. Greenway Committee? Mr. Havner?
Sorry, I got distracted. We opened Crabtree Creek West officially. The city did their ribbon cutting last Tuesday. Our nonprofit Friends of Raleigh Greenway had an event on Saturday. Both were well attended. Y'all had city had a little better weather than Frog did, but it all worked out well. Crabtree Creek at Raleigh Boulevard is scheduled to open in late October. Our interrupted connections that we've been working on in the Greenway Committee will be installed in December. And marketing.
Maybe you can explain a little bit to other board members who might not know about interrupted connections.
It is the areas where the Greenway, the asphalt paved Greenway terminates into city sidewalk and uses city sidewalk to reach the next asphalt paved Greenway section. And they are essentially stickers, thermoplastic stickers that are breadcrumbs to lead you to the next trail. Is that a good description?
Yeah. Very good. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. Sustainability, Wildlife, and Urban Trees Committee.
All right, thank you. Actually, I'd like to just take a second to say that last week I was at a conference called the Great Trail State Conference, which is organized by a coalition of trails groups who really worked for that state money, which I'm so excited to see the city applying for. And I just wanted to recognize Rashawn for his work on that coalition. He's been an amazing leader there, and he helped pull together that conference. There were 400 people there, and it was really genuinely one of the best conferences I've ever been to. It was incredible, so thank you. So now, sustainability, wildlife, and urban trees. So we had our first meeting after the break earlier this month, and a really great meeting, and the first presentation was by the staff who are doing the invasive removal program. And the city council, you may remember, the city budget had $500,000 for invasive removal for hiring contractors. And the staff have done really impressive work of figuring out prioritization so that they could figure out where to spend that money first. And they're in the process of getting those folks started. So we were really excited about that. And it might be a great presentation for you all, the whole board, to hear at some point. The whole committee was excited. Then the next thing that happened was that we had Shasheen and Emma Lyles come to talk about the tree canopy plan, and I really appreciate Stephen and the staff figuring out, it's not a funded project specifically by the city council, just requested, and figuring out, how to put staff to make this a really successful project. And thanks for putting Emma Lyles on it. And she came and presented her first ideas about it. We, as a committee, had a lot of comments, particularly about how to involve the public. As you probably are well aware, an awful lot of people in the city are really concerned about trees. There are lots of people who are engaged. And so at our next meeting, we're going to talk about that topic again, about how to do that. And then the city council, when they put together their list of topics for the comprehensive plan update, there are 6 topics, and lo and behold, one of them is trees. So the comprehensive plan will be working on trees as we're getting started on this tree canopy plan. I learned from Charles Craig that the public outreach period that the city has put together for the trees component, I think if I understood this correctly, is going to be March 11th to 25th. And so the planning department, with a lot of help from the park staff, are going to be figuring out how to do that. And one of the things I understand they'll be thinking about is hiring a really great keynote speaker on the topic. So if any of you have any ideas about that, I know that SWAT and the staff would probably welcome thoughts on that topic. And that's my report. Thanks.
And I believe that and it may turn to Stephen for the answer to this question, because it's not specific to SWAT, but it is specific to trees, that the Dix Park Conservancy has a very renowned speaker on trees coming sometime soon.
Oh, good point.
They had the speaker, but they have the person who founded Biophilic Cities. His name escapes me.
Tim
I'm
Beatley.
sorry.
Tim Beatley.
Tim Beatley. Wonderful speaker. He came 6 or 7 years ago and was a smaller group, and he's just brilliant. Yeah.
So I know Doug Talumi came for the oak stuff.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
Okay, no, there's
Oh, they have
somebody
another one?
coming
Okay.
soon.
So Doug Ptolemy is coming again, but he's coming for the Cary
No,
environmental.
there's somebody Dix is
They
bringing.
might.
Oh, okay.
I know they have multiple initiatives in public art and.
I'll find out and get it
on
out
Tuesday,
to
you can
everyone. Yeah.
I'm just going to throw this name out there, but Jeff Speck, I don't know if that's somebody that's been considered, but he was the guy who wrote Walkable Cities. And there's a big chunk of that book that's devoted to street trees and the safety they provide, as well as the sustainability factor.
He is good.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And our next committee report is the Arts Commission.
So I was not able to make the meeting, and Kelly McChesney just stepped out. But I was going to mention the Medal of Arts that Stephen mentioned in his presentation, the sunflowers, and I think those are really the high items based on the agenda.
Right. And I have a specific agenda request tied to that, and I was going to look over at Kelly, but again, she stepped out just at the nick of time. Can we have a report for instance, when we heard about the schematic design for Method, we heard that there is a budget item of $250,000 for art. When we heard about Biltmore Hills, we did not hear about any budget item. And so can we get some kind of presentation that will help us better understand how those funds are allocated for Greenways and every place else?
Absolutely. That's a great request. I think it's probably been 10 years since that presentation has come to the board, because it is a very thorough citizen-led process on where those funds go. So, we'll add that to the agenda.
That would be super. BPAC was Monday night. I escaped the children to attend. And they are working on their bike plan for the city. And but it is an interesting comparison to the Greenway master plan, which was done during COVID, but involved easily a dozen Zoom meetings of citizens all across. The bike plan had the initial meeting in August, which I was not able to attend, and there are only 2 other meetings. So several folks have suggested that perhaps some additional citizen input might be beneficial to the bike plan. We did get a report in that meeting on Raleigh's comprehensive plan update from the person who is leading, it's not Sarah Shaughnessy, but the woman working with her. The comprehensive plan update is called Reflecting Raleigh, and she did mention that that one of the 5 areas is trees, as well as other things. And let's see, the other part of the bike plan was they looked at wayfinding signage. Now, in transportation matters, everything is dictated. We have park staff working and a consultant working on wayfinding signage for the greenways, but for bike routes, it's all dictated by MUTCD, which is a federal set of rules, Chapter 9D, which says you can only use certain very, very limited signs. So that will help on the bikeway, but there are a lot of questions. Should they do numbered routes like they did in the past, which I hope they don't do, but just designating more routes that connect to community places is, I think, the overall goal. And on October 15th will be White Cane Day, as we focus on, because it is BPAC, Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory, and so that will be meet at 2:30 at Art Space. So that is the BPAC presentation. And Historic Cemeteries Advisory Board, here's Mr. Craig.
Good evening, everyone, to the chair, members of the board. I have some exciting stuff to share. I'm pretty excited to share that the work plan for the Historic Cemetery Advisory Board was approved by council, so we're super excited about that. Some highlights from the work plan is as follows. Number 1, Education Committee will continue to move forward. And number 2, Outreach Committee will continue to move forward. And this year, we're making a major push on increasing public engagement and increasing public awareness of our historic cemeteries. So we are going to be hosting a series of different tours and just educational materials we're looking at producing so that we can help educate and get the word out about our historic cemeteries. I'm also happy to share that the 4th Ward celebration kickoff took place in the month of August, and Mount Hope Cemetery was the first location to kick off that week-long events. So we was very thankful to be able to host, and the cemetery was in really good standing and great shape as we continue to promote and educate the public on our historic cemetery spaces. With that being said, our next meeting will be next week, which will be on Thursday the 26th at 5:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. It's exciting to see. I think our cemetery resources are just a really important component, and there's so much history there. So thank you for that. Next up is Dick's Leadership Committee, and that met on August 27th. And I know that many of you all attended. I especially loved seeing the pictures of Ian and his daughter Rose, the tour of the Play Plaza. I was not able to make that date, but I did get a shortened version of that at another date. And the Play Plaza is really, really coming along amazingly. And so one of the things they talked about at the Leadership Committee was the Brown Building, which is the building adjacent, not the to one side of the to the south side of the Play Plaza, and that will be used for the city staff to have offices. It will also be have eventually a restaurant associated with it that will look out over the Play Plaza. The House of Many Porches is underway, and so they're working on a 10-year plan update. And we got a presentation on maintenance and operations and maintaining. And it was really interesting to hear the maintenance. The person who coordinates the maintenance at Pullen Park will be overseeing at Dix Park. And being a longtime Raleigh resident and remembering when there was a swimming pool at Pullen Park, the maintenance level at Pullen Park over the last 10 years has just gone through the roof. And so to think of Dick's being at that same standard, and I think all of our parks are being maintained at the elevation has been substantial. So that was, and the mayor commented that she had never been to Mount Hope Cemetery, but she had gone on the tour as part of the Fourth Ward celebration. So it is, that was all of the stuff there. But Gibson Play Plaza will open next late spring, so sometime maybe the early May. But it should be finishing up sooner than that, but they need to let all the plants and trees do. So that is the Dix Park. And then Historic Resources and Museum Advisory Board. Yeah. Oh, you had a question.
I didn't get to go with you all on the tour, but before you all went, I led some teachers. And as we've been talking about education and how to tie in things, Kate and I were talking about the trees. I think it would be great if the board thought of some sort of way, not every once in a while, but some sort of way to connect educators as you are looking to help you sponsor different things, help increase the tree contest participation. And like the Museum of Art does that. So there's some educator pieces. It's like one night of the whole year. Something where you invite the teachers, which would really help tie in, because Parks and Rec and Wake County have a relationship of sorts, and just having that opportunity. And so leading the teachers on that tour was like, that's great. Just doing that and them seeing the Parks and Rec and what it takes. They were super excited, and they're actually working on projects themselves about parks and playgrounds and sensory. And so having the opportunity to do that really helped with some buy-in. So it's just a thought that it'd be a great springboard to continue to do some things like that, to help your educators tell the children more about Parks and Rec, more about the jobs, just every aspect of
That
Parks
is
and Rec.
such an important point, April. I'm so glad you made that because, my children went to Washington Elementary, and part of what they did in the 5th grade was to tour Mount Hope Cemetery and research and know all of the important people that are buried there. And so there's so many, but probably if you're not adjacent to that school, you don't go, and yet it's a kind of historical resource that would be useful to expand. So it's something that you'll probably have to continue to bring up to help us get that more in our mindset, but it's a really great point. So thank you.
I got one comment. I've had the luxury to see a lot of parks be built from scratch up in all different varieties, ranges, areas, communities. The Play Plaza is by far, from my eyes, working with, is going to be probably the biggest park I've ever seen be built. And just the designing, the articulate, thoughts that came behind developing this park is what's going to make it the best park in the whole Triangle area. And yeah, like it's just gonna blow so many people's minds away. And I had the opportunity to take that tour with the majority of you guys, and I think sometimes we don't be appreciative of these different consultant firms, the staff that's out there actually putting this work in. So I want to thank you guys, thank the city of Raleigh, thank the consultants firms that's out there helping build that. It's mind blowing. So
I really love the Yates Mill Pond, all of the interactivity of the water. And then
One more thing, and I just want to make sure it goes on the minutes. Balfour Beatty, they were the people who led our tour. So that's another connection. They were nice enough to host the teachers. They took us out, they gave us lunch, and we got the whole tour. We walked the whole thing with one of the engineer, and then the young man who was in charge of all of the things on site. So just also wanting to shout them out, and again, another opportunity for a connection.
excellent. So Parks Bond Community Engagement Liaisons. I think since we last met, the News River CAG has met. I think we met on Zoom, not in person, but we have a meeting coming up on September 30th. And are there any other parks that are?
Big Branch met.
Big
last
Branch
month.
met. Yeah.
And any report or anything? Yeah, Ian's got a report on that.
Yes. Okay. So Big Branch met on 8/14 for the first open house. I'm sad they just left. They almost got to hear my comments. But there was a large showing from the Anderson Drive homeowners, and I talked to them for most of the time I was there, and they have very legitimate and reasonable concerns about the location. I mean, when you hear "not in my backyard," it's usually a euphemism for your town, but this is quite literally their backyard. And one thing that I thought that we could do with how we lay out and evaluate these projects is the alternatives were simply marked as proximity to houses, but there's a big difference between proximity to the front of a house and proximity to the back of a house. And then even within that distance is a big deal. Having a greenway 200 feet behind your house is not significant as opposed to having a greenway 40 feet behind your house. So I think that we could come up with some sort of, subjective, but an objective way of ranking the proximity of these trails, because they showed me pictures. It would literally be a quiet conversation between me and Carol for somebody on the greenway if you're standing in their backyard. So that is just for all of the greenway projects. I know we don't have that many, but the Big Branch is going to be proceeding. And as we evaluate it and as Parks staff narrows down the options, I think there would be a lot of value in the potential of causing some reasonable inconvenience to people They can't build a house, or they can't build a fence in the backyard because the stream does flood regularly. They showed me videos, and it would probably destroy the fence. So just something to think about. I know we have a right to, or with the easement, but there's something to consider there that I think that's maybe too close for comfort. On the same front,
Ian, I just wanted to check. So is this Anderson Drive on the right side of Six Forks? So like
it
not
is.
the main.
Yeah. So this is segment 1B.
Anderson Forest is the name of the subdivision.
There's 4 alternate routes. 3 of them run on one side of the creek. The other one runs on sidewalks on the other side of the creek. It's a pretty short section, and it's kind of interesting. But like, if it's only 9 houses, it seems like a lot more of a targeted thing than if we were doing this to 100 houses. You know, I don't know why, but they showed up in force, and they've been to every single meeting since then. On the other hand, too, I think one thing I noticed with that park is that the flooding of the Greenway is something that we need to consider. I know the park staff is using the FEMA flood zone to show proximity to Greenways. There's a lot of evidence that the FEMA flood zone is not actually capturing the rainfall that we get now. We may want to consider distance as a more risk-averse approach so that we're not dealing with eroded and damaged greenways as a result of being too close to a stream, and that's everywhere. And then another safety concern actually came up at that open house. So park staff, I think when you're considering street crossings, there was alternates. This is a strange project because there's so many alternates. It's like four choices per segment. And a couple of the options from the first 1A to 1B, they come out to a sidewalk, they right angle, and then they go down the block to get to a crosswalk. And the person will see the greenway continues right across the road, which might encourage illegal street crossing, which is, of course, very dangerous. I think we need to consider both the safety of homeowners, as I talked about before, but also the safety of trail users, and making the easiest choice the safest choice. So not bringing them up to a street and having them choose, do I go down the street to a crosswalk or do I just cross? And that would be, I mean, there was a lot more than I expected would happen at this open house, but it was informative, and I've thought about it a lot since then, and it seems like, you know, all the points were reasonable. So I wanted to convey that to the group, that this is an interesting project, and with so many options, I think we need to consider what the options really mean.
Yeah, Ian brings up a good point, and I talk about this a lot with the manager's office because we are building closer to people's houses. That's because we're now building where homes exist in denser areas where people want a greenway. So we've done the easy ones, right? Crabtree, Walnut, Neuse River, and we've acquired property over the last 50 years, and we're like, well, now we're going to go build it. So it's going to be very tough for the board to reconcile those policy reviews. You're right about going down a sidewalk and knowing the greenway's over there, and that's a safety issue. The other thing we remind, if you bring people up a sidewalk, you might be 15 feet from someone's front door versus 40 feet from, because your sidewalks run right in front of people's houses. So the policy choices that the board is going to have to make will be pretty challenging.
So this might be a question for either of you guys, but right now, the way the Big Branch connector is going to go across Six Forks, is it going to route it under Six Forks, like a tunnel, or is it going to be a crosswalk across Six Forks? Grade crossing. So it wouldn't technically have to go right at the creek. It could happen at like Plantation. Is it Plantation Drive or the next road over?
I wouldn't want to speak without having all the different alternatives in front of me. Because there is multiple, Ian's right, there's 4 segments, and then there's 4 alternatives for each segment. So there's actually 16 different.
Okay.
All right, and then we have a nominating committee that will be submitting some names to City Council. I've spoken with our council representative, Megan Patton, and she suggested that we submit 3 at a time. So we'll first be filling Marcia's seat, and then we will be filling some other seats that are rolling off after their period of time and other commitments. So, but they're not off yet. Other than that, as chair, I will mention, as Jeff mentioned, the Friends of the Raleigh Greenway, there's now an Instagram page and a Facebook page, and we had 100 people and raised about $7,000 for art on the Greenway. And so it was as he said, the weather, was not so good last Friday. And on Saturday, the skies parted and there was cloud and then sunshine, and there are a whole lot of you all at this table who came out to help, and so thank you to all of you. It was a lot of fun. Our Greenway is our largest park, as I am inclined to remind people, and that Chris asked me the question, is it larger than Forest Ridge? I think it is. 5 times the size of even Forest
I
Ridge.
usually say we have roughly 3,000 acres of Greenway property.
Okay, so anyway, it will be interesting going forward to advocate on that in that area. And other than that, we've been here since 4 o'clock, and actually we've gotten through 2 really beefy schematic designs with lots of really good questions and thoughts. And so, Giovanna, Giovanna's reminding me that even though they're not gone yet, I do have some plaques. One for Rashawn and one for Carol. They've been sitting here all night long. I could have practically scooped them up. But to thank you for your years of service and your involvement and your thoughtful comments and advice and counsel on this board. Both of you have been active participants in this board, and we are so blessed to have such a good, diverse board of people who are committed to the city and to the parks. And so I will give you each your plaques, and let's see, I'll give Rashawn his and I'll give Carol's hers instead of vice versa. Yes, you may. Yes.
Well, there's somebody else who isn't leaving us, but who has been chairing this board for a while. And I'm only been here for 9 months, so what do I know? But I've been very, very impressed and appreciated your leadership during that time. So.
Well, thank you. But I'm not leaving yet. We've got another 6 months of me asking questions. So, all right. With that, this meeting is adjourned.